Are you moving as we speak, Secretary?
Yeah, literally. We're going from one location to another.
That's very cool. Well, Secretary Cardona, thank you so much for joining us on this ASP Chat. Let's just jump right in. Before becoming Secretary of Education, you have worked at nearly every level of education, including being an elementary school teacher, associate superintendent, a principal, including coordinating a state-level response at the outset of the pandemic. So from that perspective, let us know, what do parents need to know about their children returning to school during COVID?
Well, listen, I visited 2 elementary schools this morning. I'm on my way to another place to visit reopening, and I can tell you that everything that I've seen is really, it builds confidence, not only as an educator myself, but as a father. Educators are doing everything to keep their students safe, to build confidence for parents to know that their kids are going to be okay. They're following those mitigation strategies that we know work. And I see students smiling, giggling, being together again. It feels really good. Across the country, kids are back in school. And it looks more like what it was before the pandemic, which is good because students love to be around one another and learning with the teacher.
Reports of pediatric COVID cases have been on the rise, with the American Academy of Pediatrics reporting nearly a 240% increase in cases since July. Will schools remain open this year, even if youth COVID cases continue to rise?
That's critically important that we monitor that and we look to see how that's happening. And what we're finding, unfortunately, is that where we're seeing rise in cases is predominantly in places that are not using the mitigation strategies that we know work. We'd be doing a disservice to our students not giving them an opportunity to learn in person where they learn best. They've suffered enough. Let's follow what works. Let's monitor the spread. And what I can tell you, Chris, is what we've found, not only this year but last year, is spread happens in communities. And oftentimes, when the community spread is high, it walks into our school. Nobody wants to hear about pediatric cases of COVID. We're monitoring it closely, but we know that across the country, we have schools that are reopened without issues because they're following those strategies that we know work.
One of the key elements of the American Rescue Plan passed earlier this year by Congress invested $130 billion to support school reopening efforts. Can you let us know where that money is gone?
Yeah. That money is spread to the different states for 3 major topics, 3 major buckets of focus. First and foremost, safe reopening, right? We've seen schools use those funds. I was in DeKalb County recently, and they had a new ventilation system. It was an older school, and the air quality was poor. That's not something that you notice right when you walk into a school, but the air quality was poor, and they really invested in improving air quality, airflow, to make sure that the environment is safe. So the first bucket is safe reopening. The second bucket is social emotional support. Turning on the lights is not enough. We know our students suffered a lot, their families suffered a lot, so we need to make sure that when we reopen our schools, we have more school counselors, more support for students that might need some mental health support after having gone through such a terrible 18 months. And then the last bucket of work is academic acceleration. Students missed out on a lot of learning, and while they're resilient and they've learned while they were gone, we know that it's not at the same level. So we need tutors, after-school programs, summer school programs, and I've been fortunate to see it firsthand what it looks like when they're using the American Rescue Plan funds to give kids more opportunities to succeed.
Los Angeles County recently required vaccines for children aged 12 and up. What happens with children whose parents refuse to get them vaccinated? And should more counties and states follow LA County's model?
As a father, again, for me, the health and safety of my children is the most important thing. And the moment they were eligible for vaccine, we were there in line like everyone else. And I breathed a little bit easier when I knew both my children were vaccinated. And, we're partnering with the health department, with Pediatric Association to help inform parents of the benefits of it. Listen, we didn't wake up this morning thinking about measles because that was behind us. There was requirements for measles vaccine, and it's no longer an issue. The same is the case for COVID-19. We know how to protect our children. So let's protect them. It's really about messaging and helping share information. People are nervous. People are scared. So as the vaccine becomes eligible for younger children, we want to make sure parents have the right information. Yesterday, I was in a clinic that worked and partnered with the school to inform parents and the school community of the benefits of it, and help allay whatever fears they might have so that they can make the decision to vaccinate their children and protect their children.
As in most government programs, there's always a balance between the state and federal power when it comes to education. So is regulating vaccines and other healthcare measures for students a state or a federal issue?
It really is a state issue. It's a state mandate. However, I applaud the president's leadership a couple weeks ago when, he required and agencies that the federal government has control over, he required vaccines. And he's calling on governors to do the same for the agencies that they oversee. We can get this behind us. We can limit the hospitalizations that are happening across the country in places where they're less likely to get vaccinated or less likely to use mitigation strategies. So while it is a state issue, we do have a role at the federal government to make sure clear information is out there, and we're kind of beating the drum to help put this pandemic behind us.
A recent CDC report highlighted some health issues that school children are facing during the pandemic, specifically an increase in obesity. How can school help reverse this trend?
Our students, that's a good point. Like, a lot of people don't think about that. Our students have been more sedentary this last year and a half than in previous years. So when we reopen schools, we have to make sure that we're giving our students not only social and emotional engagement with their peers and fun activities to kind of want to be back there, but also move around, having them, do trips or be more physical activity, more recess, more, PE classes. We have to engage our students in extracurricular activities. I feel strongly every student in the country should have access to an extracurricular activity where they're not only building social skills, but getting out, moving more, going to see parks, getting on field trips, doing things that we know students love. We as educators now have to rethink how we're welcoming our students back.
Another education trend that's been reported is a decrease in college enrollment since COVID. Why do you think this is happening?
Many of our college-age students had to work. They had to go and help support their family. There was a lot of job loss. We even had that with high school students who had to help supplement the income of their families and had to go to work. That's why in the ARP, the American Rescue Plan, there are funds intended to re-engage students and get them back into college, get them matriculated, and help them kind of get back into it. They need more now, not less, and we have to work twice as hard now, especially for those students that may be disengaged early or just feel like, I'm done with this, I want to move on. It's our job as educators to re-engage them and really give them opportunities to get back on track so that they can reach their potential.
President Biden's recent vaccine mandate includes businesses with more than 100 employees. Are schools included in that mandate, and are teachers and other school staff required to get vaccinated?
Some schools are, right? Private institutions are, private schools are, and some public schools are if they're under, an OSHA contract with their states. But it's not all of them. That's why it's really important that we get the message out that we encourage state governors who do have that authority to work with their legislators and really move forward with legislation on requiring vaccines to do their part as well. In those places where they're more aggressive about requiring vaccines, you're seeing less school interruptions. You're seeing less disrupted learning. You see kids not having to worry about missing their football game, missing their soccer game, their volleyball game. So we know what we need to do. FDA approved it. There's no reason why we're not moving forward as a country.
So last question, let's switch gears from COVID to some news of the day. And you spoke a little bit about this earlier. Some key proposals in the Democratic reconciliation package include a universal pre-K and free community college. Do you support these proposals, and why or why not?
Listen, not only do I support them, I feel blessed that I'm Secretary of Education when this is being pushed forward. As a lifelong educator, I was a principal of an elementary school, and I can tell you which students had support in 3- and 4-year-old programs and which didn't. And you could tell which students came prepared, ready to learn, and that's how you close the gaps in achievement. You do it by having a quality early childhood program. And let me tell you, very few things excite me more than the potential for college for all. I've talked to students who felt like college was so out of reach that they didn't even think about themselves as college students. If we put college at the reach of all students, imagine the potential for our students, for our country. All students deserve an opportunity for continued growth, and it's good for the economy. College, community college graduates earn on average 21% more than high school graduates. That means they can buy homes, invest in the economy. I'm really pushing to make sure that community college for all is a part of the Build Back Better agenda, because I know it's going to have a difference, not only for those families, but for our whole country.
Secretary Cardona, nice to see you as always. Thank you so much for joining us on this ASP Chat.
Thank you so much for taking the time on the bus. We appreciate it.
Always good to see you guys. Take care.